Adam Kelsall, coach to the stars, because we've started to see a preview of the XCO World Championships course, which is going to be at Glentress in Scotland in the, what are they calling it? The Super Worlds? Like they're having all the disciplines in the one country. What's the
I
name for
think
it?
Super Worlds or Mega Worlds, or depending on what side of the fence you're on. If you're in organisation and logistics, it's probably the cluster swear word worlds. Yeah, it's very exciting though. I'm excited that it's going to be all the disciplines except cyclocross, which somehow missed out.
Not an ideal August sport, but although I think they get started in August in the US because their winters are so miserable. But that's a different conversation.
For
We
sure.
saw that video released by the UCI, where a rider took us through the course. I mean, the video that I saw it's well produced. It gave us a good rundown, but there are a few things that stood out to me. One is there's a lot of natural features, which are great. Also, a lot of built features, which we expect in any modern cross-country course. But there's a few things I noticed as well. But I'd love to get your take as somebody who will be coaching some of the athletes who compete for Australia there on what you thought of the course and pros and cons maybe compared to other years.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting course. There's a couple of things that I noted. It's not at a ski resort, which is really nice, and nothing against the ski resorts, but I think having all the World Cups at the ski resorts creates kind of a formula for what the tracks like to be. And I've been following the course designer on Twitter and been really excited by his excitement and his passion for the course. And I think because he got to, my understanding or the vibe is that he got to start with a blank slate. So he didn't have an existing, trails or fire roads or whatever. So I really like that. I like that the climb isn't too long. I think that creates a much more even race, hopefully. For us viewers, we like exciting, close racing. And I think courses like Leogang, as amazing and as historic as they are, watching two or three riders who are the best climbers in the race go up and up and up and up and up a fire road. Yeah, that's good for the traditionalists, but not sure with the Red Bull generation. Oh, yeah, with the generation that's coming through, they want to see
We're
jumps
not the
and
ABC, so.
they want to see jumps and drops and rad stuff. So I think from that point of view, it's great.
Actually, in that respect, I really liked the Lenzerheide World Cup and World Champs because I also like it because I could ride the course. But
Yeah.
although it is a ski resort course, it isn't dictated only by the climbs. It's got a lot of ongoing technical features which really let people ride to their strengths and made for quite a dynamic race.
Totally, and it's good that you mentioned Lenzerheide because the vibe to me is that it's a similar track. The climb's not too long. There's lots of tech, and a really even course that, like you said, favours a lot of different strengths.
Yeah, and look, one thing that it was hard for me to pick up on from the course preview, where obviously until you see something with tape and where you've had all the teams doing practice on it for a week, it's hard to get an idea of what the course is actually going to be like come
For
race day.
sure.
But passing, it's hard to know. And how important is that? Because a lot of people look at a cross country course and they go, "Oh, it's so wide, that's boring." But they might be looking at it with like gravity blinkers, forgetting that there's going to be 100+ people on there,
Mm.
elbow to elbow, going full noise. There needs to be some room to move, right? Is that how important do you think that is in modern course design?
I think that's really important, not just from a racing point of view, but from an entertainment point of view. Bearing in mind that we're going to have riders like Matthew Van der Poel, Tom Pidcock, Peter Sagan. He's flagged that he's going to the Olympics next year, so he might show up. In the women's race, Blanca Vass, who's been doing a lot of road racing. So they're going to be starting right near the back. So I think it's in the course best interest for them to be near the front to be able to get to the front because the viewers want to see those riders. So I think it looks like the climb is nice and wide. So I think that should help. And we know Pidcock can get to the front very quickly. We know Van der Poel's got the power. Blanca Vass has got the power. So I think
Hey, even Sagan showed at the Olympics that he could
yes,
get to the front pretty quick when he needed to.
yes. And I pumped up his tyres big time, and people deflated my tyres around the fact that I was pumping up his tyres. But he did get to the front very quickly, and I would love to see, Sagan's not the guy he was, but we have seen roadies come over and do really well with Van der Poel. And is Pidcock a roadie? I don't know, but
Who
yeah,
knows?
I like that it's a wide climb to allow those riders, and we'll hopefully we get to see those riders.
Totally. And the features from the course preview that we saw, I mean, it shows a fair few natural features further first on, like once after the climb in the forest, which looks a lot like the long climb at Nova Mesto, which will
It's
work well.
very much. Yeah,
Camera angle, which I'm sure plays into that too. But
love that.
a lot of the features are built, and there's considerable gaps. It's like a 2 meter gap drop. It like looks like a road drop going over like a drainage creek. Looks like it's a roll and push, probably again a bit like the Lenza Height wall. That speed will make you clear it, but there's also a few which are pretty intimidating in their looks, the rock ones, especially if it's wet, and I don't think that's out of the question. Do you think, what was your impression of some of the features that we were shown?
I'm stoked to see them in there. I can remember having a conversation after I'd seen the Cairns World Cup / World Champs course for the first time, a conversation with Glenn Jacobs, and he said my vision for the course was to really push technical skills and push the development of bikes, and he really did that with Jacobs ladder and some really extreme features, and I think this will do the same. I think 2023 we're ready for cross country riders to be able to jump. And if they can't jump, they've got a couple of weeks to learn. But also, so that's one extreme. But in saying that, I had a pretty good look at the features, and that one that you mentioned looks like it's over a drain. You can see the takeoff point is a lot higher than the bottom, the landing point. And I think that reminded me again of Cairns, the Rodeo drop, where it was a gap, and obviously in Glasgow, it's a flat roll in, and Rodeo drop is a downhill roll in. But I can remember, our Aussie junior girls, Catherine Hosking and Sarah Tucknott, and they all really helped each other out on that technical features, and giving each other toe ins so they could work out the lines, work out the momentum. And I think we'll see the same thing at Glasgow. I think you find the teammates that have got the skills, and then they work together and they work it out. And by race day, I think everyone will be nailing that, and it won't even be a point of discussion. It'll look spectacular, but I think skills wise, they'll find it pretty easy.
You know what's interesting with that? I remember chatting to Christoph Sauser at the 2016 World Cup in Cairns, who was also skills coach for Annika Langvad, who won that World Cup, and she took every beeline, and she won.
Right. Yeah.
And I think while the course design was excellent, I think this course in Scotland is probably putting a bit more time penalties into the beeline to prevent that, because the guy doing the course preview suggested it's a 4-second penalty on that particular drop. And then I know some of the other rock roll-ins, which are super steep, I couldn't even see where a beeline would be for those if there is one. And then later on, there's a 3-meter gap, which is mandatory, no beeline. I have a point of contention with that, not just because I'm unlikely to hit it on my XC bike, but also because I think from a racing perspective, if there's any issue there, it's an immediate halt on anyone behind that. What's your take on that?
Because
the big ones also, they offer that.
As far as I'm aware, I think in the rules they have to have a beeline.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there'll be pressure for there to be a beeline, and the last thing we want to see is an accident or an injury. Is that the rule that the race has to be stopped? Because we saw Van der Poel have quite a serious injury at the Olympics, and the race continued. So it's going to.
It would effectively stop the race for those caught behind, and that would be at a serious disadvantage if that was the only line and there was no other way to go around, because that's the function of a B line or an A line sometimes, is that it's another option to get through crazy traffic.
Yeah, totally. I think by race day there'll be a B line there. But like you mentioned, there'll probably be a serious time penalty in taking the B line, and I'd love to see that. The riders who have worked on their skills over the years, they deserve to be rewarded as much as the riders who have worked on their VO2.
Totally. And I think already looking back at the Leger World Cup, there were some pretty big gaps of people and jumps people were committing to there. Obviously, a lot of stuff could be pumped as well, but even just pumping it was a time penalty compared to keeping the speed up for the airline.
Totally, and hopefully on the edge of that jump, we don't see a repeat of Yolanda and Pauline on the edge of the drop, because the consequences could be disastrous.
Yeah, it's quite a sharp, rocky edge on both the takeoff and you just would not want to frontside that.
No.
Having obviously we've only had the same kind of brief look at the preview, but I haven't seen what the total elevation is or a bit of a breakdown on the climbing and descending and lap length. You need to prep some athletes to be in top condition come race day. What are your expectations of the demands on the riders?
It's really hard to prep, particularly. It's really hard to prep specifically, but it's easier to prep Australian riders who are going over just for that race. But for Zoe Cuthbert, for example, she's got a month's break now between the last World Cup and World Champs. World Champs, I don't know the exact, but it's not very high off sea level. And then 2 weeks later, she's at Val Nord, which is 1,800 to 2,000 meters plus. So that's where it becomes tricky. Is that got to prepare for Worlds, but also got to prepare for a race 2 weeks later. So what I try and do is focus on preparing the physiology as broadly as I can. So I won't give away exactly what Zoe's been doing, but we'll be working on sustained power so that she can sustain her power right through the race. And then once she'll get there early. Zoe likes to get there early, and I like her to get there early. That creates, psychologically, it's a bit more relaxed than arriving late and having to suss out the course. So, yeah, be physiologically fit and then arrive early so that the athlete has a lot of time to get relaxed on the course. It's really important that it can be relaxed, ridden in a relaxed way.
Yeah, and I guess last thing, any predictions on who we might see roll away, or not that it's going to be easy, with a medal in either the elite under 23 or under 19 events?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I feel like Beck is coming into some really good form.
Yeah.
A podium at Val di Sole, that's huge. So she'll be one to watch out for. The Swiss, always watch out for the Swiss. I'm really interested in what Puck is going to do, not just in right now, but throughout the season. She's on fire. She's minutes ahead of everyone else, and I think she raced the whole cyclocross season, so that's obviously benefiting her now. But whether she can maintain the rage for the rest of the season will be really interesting.
Because it depends what she's doing now in the break in the World
Yeah,
Cups and what got her working on doing.
Very much. And I think there was someone else. Jenny Risveds is always thereabouts, and I think she always does well at Lenzerheide, and we've mentioned the similarities to Lenzerheide. Is Annika Landvad making a comeback?
I don't think so. I did see her posting a few photos the other day. Who knows? She's super strong. She could.
Yeah.
You could discount
and
it.
in the men, I think Van der Poel is absolutely keen to make it a double. He wants road and mountain bike, which both courses really suit him. So that's going to be very exciting to watch. Obviously, Pidcock, I think Pidcock's giving the Tour de France a really solid go. Like, he's sitting 12th overall at the moment. So I think he might be, that's really unpredictable what sort of form he'll carry. Can never ride off Schurter. He's an amazing rider. So yeah, any of those three. And then, going back to the women, I think Evie, she being from the UK and Worlds being in the UK, I think she'll be a force as well.
Yeah, she's Northern England too, so it's not too far away. And then maybe Isla Short might have another standout performance like she did in Leogang a couple of years back. Yeah. What about in men? We've got Australian champion Sam Fox, who I think has made a good transition to racing elite. I know he didn't get the result that he really wanted in Leogang recently after I think he had pretty much 6 weekends of racing straight, but he did get some C1 wins in Slovakia, I believe, or in Croatia. And he had some good results at the previous World Cups. as you said, this course is a little bit like Lenzerheide in that it's not driven by really long ski hill climbs. Maybe, and Sam had a good result in Lenzerheide. Do you think he could have, I'm not talking a podium here, but like a good first year elite result?
Definitely, definitely. I think Sam, the thing you can never doubt about Sam is how well prepared he'll be. He's coached Dr. John Gregory. He's done a lot of research and works at the TAS, and you can see, you get little glimpses of Sam's preparation. You see a lot of videos of him in ditches all around the world, so he's working hard. And also he's doing heat preparation, which is, getting the hemoglobin ready and oxygen transport and all that. So he'll definitely be really well prepared. He had a great Worlds last year. I feel like he just missed the key bunch. So I'll be tipping Sam to have a really good Worlds, solid Worlds. He's well prepared. Love watching him race. Can't wait.
Yeah, and obviously, Zoe's your athlete. She's also like great hope in coming up through under 23, and as she's done through juniors for Australia. And you can't talk about the secret sauce planning and training going on. But do you think this course as a whole probably suits Zoe's like just love for riding and racing?
Definitely. When I saw the course, and it was 1:30 in the morning here. I was watching the Tour de France, and the course came up, and I flicked it to Zoe straight away, and she's excited. So, she's learned a lot. This racing last year and this year, she's still learning heaps. Thing that she's done this year that she didn't last year is she's been at the front of races, at the front of World Cups in XCC and XCO, which for an Australian rider is huge.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah, learned a lot from being there, learned a lot from being top 20, learned a lot from being top 10. You mentioned secret sauce. She finally has a power meter.
Yeah, no more sensations.
Get a bit political here, but after 3 years of cycling, I've decided she's good enough for a power meter, so that's good. And I'm really happy and confident that she can have a good race.
That's fantastic. Look, thanks so much for your insights and reasoned thought and opinions there too. It was all really good. And looking forward to watching the racing in August, and hopefully we get a few more course previews coming out from the UCI as well.
Thanks heaps, Mike. Can't wait. I wish we didn't have this long break. I wish it was just World Cup, Worlds.
Yeah, would be good. Cool. Cheers, mate. See you later.
Thanks, mate.